flow that works for everybody. And again, difficult. I'm not saying these are easy problems to solve. Mm-hmm. I just wish they had been solved because they would have saved me headaches.
It sounds like it's somewhere between, your average everyday forum platform and a wiki. Is that sort of where the sweet spot is, or is that off point?
I think it's actually between a wiki and a knowledge base. It's sort of the true idea behind a wiki. The wiki, mm-hmm. Everybody participates, and Wikipedia is the perfect example of that. Like, everybody can participate, and they've got some decent levers and rules. Mm-hmm. But then you have this knowledge base, most of which have these really fine-grained control mechanisms. But you don't have, at least I've seen, somewhere in between where, let's say you, as a company, as a brand, you wanted to create a knowledge base, but you wanted to allow your customers to participate in that knowledge base, maybe make an edit or suggest something. Actually, the best thing that I've seen is GitHub. Git is the perfect example of that. Like, I don't know how familiar you are with Git, but you can make recommendations to change code, or in some cases, documentation. And, and there's workflows, and it's really cool. But it's super geeky. Like, you have to, to use Git, it's super geeky. So could we express that in some way that would be a good user experience for the new user that comes in, or somebody that's not super geeky?
When you joined KaizenOps.io, which was just 3 months ago, so fairly recently, you were hired as a community manager to focus on building the community, but now you're doing more marketing work and community has been deprioritized. Why is that?
It's an interesting situation because KaizenOps is part of an entrepreneur program for CA Technologies. So CA Technologies has been around for 40 plus years. They started on mainframes, and they started this entrepreneur program to kind of try new things. And so the team that I'm on, KaizenOps, are focused on this one very small niche market of DevOps, which is called site reliability engineers. And in their market research, they kind of determined there was no place where site reliability engineers hung out. And from a marketing perspective, that makes it difficult to market to them. And so what they wanted to do was create that. So they were like, we'll create a library. It's going to be really awesome. And we'll do a wiki. And so they hired me. I didn't know all of this coming in, and maybe that was my bad for not, teasing that out a little bit more. So I came in and I started building a community strategy and looking at what they had. I was like, okay, guys, this is a whole lot more work than you really think it is. This is going to take a lot of strategy and planning and all of this. And every month we go to our funding board, which is similar to like a VC board, but it's internal. And, we went to them and they're like, okay, you're not at the right place for that. So we're in a sort of very early stage. And their point was that the community is really a building your market. And we're not there yet. We're sort of at the build your product, or, design what your product should be. So it's sort of my own fault for saying, no, we can't do this because it's this much bigger project and we have to do all of this other stuff to get there. Because what a lot of companies, I think, don't realize is your community is a product, or it should be. Like, it should be thought of as a product. It's something that takes a lot of internal input, right? Like, there's technology, there's process, procedures, there's legal, there's all of these things that every other product needs to go through. And I think they just didn't really understand how much that was. And so I voted to deprioritize it because it just wasn't the right fit right now.
So sticking with kind of your current role, you said you're working on your plan there as things evolve, but right now it revolves around a blog, the use of Slack, and a library. And you said the library piece has been a bit of a bugaboo, your word. What's the trouble with the library piece? What is that?
That was the idea they had when I came in, was to build a library. And I was like, a library, this was a wiki-style library was their idea. A wiki-style library is not a community. People can write to me about Wikipedia, but I would argue that's not necessarily a community either. You need a community that feeds that library. It was my opinion, and the way I approached it was, we need a way to get people in, have them talking, and then they will create this library with us. Call back to our previous two conversations a couple of topics ago. So the library is trying to figure out what the technology for the library should be, because they are developers. Maybe Git is the right choice, but some of them may not. So maybe a wiki style. And part of it is I have no community members to sort of ask. And that's really probably where we're going to end up. We're going to try and build this community in Slack because that's where they're comfortable. And then say, okay, we want to actually build some longer term greenfield kinds of things. How would you guys like to work? And see how that goes. right now, all of this